Having made up his mind, he no longer hesitated. With a mere thought, the ultra-long-distance Space Gate random deployment platform before him was activated. Outside the entrance to the Ruins Market, following intense spatial fluctuations, 42 vortex portals appeared almost simultaneously. After completing these actions, Song Kai didn't involve himself further. The power of laws circulated around him, and in an instant, he transformed from a human form into a Moruo clan member with a crescent-shaped horn on his head. He then walked directly into a shop by the street. Having opened the Ruins Market for trade so many times, his mindset had long since become serene, devoid of the nervousness and anticipation he'd felt during the initial few openings. Inside the oddity exchange shop, he looked around at nearly 100 variegated Starry Sea oddities in the shop all by himself. Positioned in the most conspicuous place above the shop were 3 oddities emitting a purple glow. Time Stone, Millennium Ghost Locust Wood, Molten Crystal. Undoubtedly, all 3 were strange objects that couldn't be transformed into ship-mounted components, otherwise, Song Kai wouldn't have put them up for trade. Among them, the first 2 were acquired from that battle with the Bloodblade Star Thieves, and they were also the 2 objects his grandfather and his uncle had received previously. Song Kai casually mentioned to them that he had a channel to sell the 2 for their original price, and thereafter, without saying much, his grandfather and uncle entrusted him with both items, showing full trust in him. Because of this, Song Kai felt a warm sentiment inside. The feeling of having a warm, large family was really quite pleasant. At the same time, he also made a decision. After the trade at this Ruins Market was over, and before the next Ruins Market trade began, he would take out one of the 4 remaining Ruins Market guest tokens he had and reveal it to his parents, grandfather, and uncle, using it as a cover for his own fortunes. The explanation would be simple. He would say that during his first expedition to the alien star domain, he had luckily encountered a spatial gate deployed by the Zutian Ruins Market, which is how he obtained that Ruins Market guest token. He had given this decision careful thought. This way, he could explain the circumstances of his fortunes, and when he continues to provide the family with various resources, he could perfectly account for their origins. Moreover, this would make it convenient to collect resources needed by family members in the future, accelerating everyone's advancement, a strategy that promised multiple benefits. The reason he didn't reveal his identity as the Ruins Market Master was simple. His family would soon be returning to the main family. While he absolutely trusted the elders of his own family, he felt quite differently about the Dingai Song family, a clan with nearly 3,000 years of heritage, with its intricate internal factions that were enough to make one's head throb just thinking about them. With a population in the tens of millions, who could guarantee that there weren't individuals with ill intentions, looking only to suppress and exploit their clanmates? The value of the Zutian Ruins Market and the secret realm behind it goes without saying. The worth is immeasurable, and precisely because of this, it's more likely to attract covetous outsiders. The fewer people who know, the less the risk of exposure. As they say, human nature is unpredictable. Song Kai didn't want to gamble, and keeping it a secret was the best choice. The third purple relic, Molten Crystal, was one he had purchased from the multifunctional Chengxing shop after acquiring the Senbai Bone Flame, spending merely 50,000 strands of zero-rank floating land origin. Beneath the 3 purple relics were more than 20 blue oddities. A small portion of these were purchased from the multifunctional Chengxing shop, and the rest, apart from a few left over from before, were acquired from the battle with the Bloodblade Star Thieves, also through casual requests made to his family members. The remaining almost 70 items were all white oddities, sourced similarly to the blue ones mentioned above. Looking at the more than 90 oddities, Song Kai nodded in satisfaction. It wasn't an extravagant assortment, but there was at least an initial scale to it, unlike when he had just opened this exchange shop and it was rather shabby. Furthermore, he believed that with each successive opening of the Ruins Market for trade, the scale of this oddity exchange shop would undoubtedly grow larger and larger. In time, not to mention a few scant purple oddities, even orange oddities, or red-level Starry Sea oddities, would appear on the shelves of this shop. But let's not get ahead of Song Kai. who was currently contemplating a bright future. Far beyond the Star River, the primordial continent, Luofu Sword Sect. Among the 6 peaks of the Sword Sect, at the Heavy Sword Peak, atop the Heavy Sword Pavilion. Since he'd become a direct disciple of the Heavy Sword Peak, Zhou Ping had transformed overnight, becoming the current 3rd senior brother of the Heavy Sword Peak. Now he resided in the True Inheritance Hall situated nearest the peak of the mountain, while his cultivation place was within the Heavy Sword Pavilion, where the spiritual mechanism was most pure. He lived a carefree life. At this moment, while Zhou Ping was cultivating with all his might in the Heavy Sword Pavilion, he suddenly opened his eyes, looked down at the bronze token hanging from his waist, which was flickering with red light. Has the new ruins market trade started? He muttered softly to himself, then sprang up from his meditative state and rushed towards the main hall of the Heavy Sword Peak. Inside the main hall, after explaining the situation, the peak master of the Heavy Sword Peak at the head of the hall, True Sword Immortal, waved his hand gently. Then, an exquisite storage bag flew out and finally landed in Zhou Ping's hands. This was a super large storage bag, with a space exceeding 200 cubic meters, also something the Luofu Sword Sect prepared monthly for Zhou Ping. Inside the storage bag were various medicinal herbs, minerals, spiritual mechanisms, and treasures of heaven and earth, starry sea oddities. And Zhou Ping's task was to sell them at high prices within 24 hours after entering the Zutian Ruins market. Taking the storage bag, Zhou Ping waved his hand at his waist to activate the Ruins market guest token. Simultaneously, within the Ruins market secret realm, Song Qi's eyebrows rose slightly as he felt the transfer request coming from the second guest token. After a pause of 2 seconds, his mind moved, and he agreed to the transfer. On the 2nd floor of the inn, the second guest room, accompanied by a mild spatial fluctuation, Zhou Ping deftly opened the door and then went downstairs to the free stall area, beginning to place the items from the storage bag one by one onto his own booth. At this moment, there weren't many creatures in the Ruins market, so taking this opportunity, he quickly walked through the shops on both sides of the street, and as usual, purchased several sets of military exoskeleton armor, 10 first-rank combat robots, and dozens of matching energy batteries. Seeing this, Song Kai coughed lightly in his mind. Is this taking the cyber cultivation path further and further away? While pondering, Zhou Ping had already made his way to the oddity exchange shop. Entering the shop, Zhou Ping swept a glance at Song Kai, in the form of a Moruo clan member, then went straight to the central counter and pulled out a black cloth bag from the storage bag, followed immediately by a moderately sized wooden box. Sir, here are 50 titanium crystals, 1,000 portions of body tempering liquid, and 100 boxes of body tempering paste for this time. As he finished speaking, the cloth bag and wooden box that were in front of him on the counter disappeared together, and at the same time, the bronze token at his waist grew hot, and the just consumed times were restored. After doing all this, Zhou Ping was about to leave the shop, but when his sight swept over the 3 strange objects at the top of the shop, his figure suddenly halted, and his gaze fell on one of them, the 10,000-year ghost locust wood. In a corner of the shop, Song Kai disguised as a Moruo clan member felt a move in his heart. Although Zhou Ping was trying his best to conceal it, how could he fool Song Kai, the Ruins market lord? The moment Zhou Ping saw the 10,000-year ghost locust wood, strange object, his eyes trembled ever so slightly. Obviously, the 10,000-year ghost locust wood must be of great value in the primordial continent behind him. With this conclusion, on the surface, Song Kai seemed unruffled, but inwardly he was all smiles. Zhou Ping had the entire Luofu Sword Sect behind him, qualifying him as possibly the biggest potential consumer in each Ruins market trade. Since the opportunity had arisen, Song Kai thought it was only right to skim a substantial amount of profit from him. He was in urgent need of second rank or higher floating land origin, and this was like being offered a pillow when drowsy. After probing around for some time, Song Kai had come to a general understanding of the situation on the primordial continent. It was a cultivation continent, the specific area of which was unclear, but it was certainly immense. The specific cultivation ranks on the continent were compared to the various ranks of the shattered starry sea as follows. Common people, 0 rank, Shi cultivation stage, 1st rank, foundation establishment stage, 2nd rank, golden core stage, 3rd rank, nascent soul stage, 4th rank, divinity transformation stage, 5th rank. Whether there are existences that transcend above divinity transformation wasn't something Zhou Ping was clear about, but even if it only went up to divinity transformation, this primordial starry sea floating land was already incredibly astonishing. Common knowledge of the starry sea, on the premise of not plundering resources from other floating lands to replenish oneself. The rank of a starry sea floating land itself determines the upper limit of strength of the life forms it can spawn. Which is to say, the primordial continent was at least a 5th rank life form star sea floating land, and one could imagine just how rich the resources on such a high-level starry sea floating land must be. And the Luofu sword sect was a large sect on the primordial continent, with a true god transforming master of 5th rank level suppressing the secta. That was why Song Kai always considered Zhou Ping as his biggest potential customer. A true god transforming master corresponds to a 5th rank powerhouse in the shattered starry sea, someone who is powerful enough to suppress an entire star domain alone, a lord of the starfield. One can imagine the kind of energy the Luofu sword sect possesses and how many rare items they must have with such a level of powerhouse. Just as various thoughts flashed through Song Qi's mind, Zhou Ping spoke up. "My lord, how can I exchange for this 10,000-year ghost locust wood? Is it possible to trade items, or would spiritual mechanisms suffice?" In the center of the shop, the projection screen started to change swiftly, providing a response. Item exchange is preferred, like that spiritual energy nameplate you have there on your person. Song Kai was quite interested in that purple quality individual shield component. However, Zhou Ping obviously was not willing to part with it, shaking his head rapidly, and after pondering for a moment, he slapped his storage bag at his waist and then had an item in his hand. Surrounded by the power of laws, Song Kai quickly saw the attributes of this item. Strange object. Devil Soul Stone, quality, purple. Convertible. No. Remarks. A unique type of ore from the Devil Soul Abyss beneath the Heavenly Devil sect in the primordial continent, with extremely limited use. Initially, when he saw the purple glow it emanated, Song Kai was somewhat excited, thinking it was another purple relic convertible into a shipboard component, but soon, disappointment showed in his eyes. It was not convertible into a shipboard component either. Seeing the negative reply come through on the screen, Zhou Ping frowned. The sect had not prepared many high-level treasures for Hema. This Devil Soul Crystal was the only one, and if that was not acceptable, he really did not know what else to trade with at the moment. After musing for a good while, he took out another item from his storage bag. This time it was not a starry sea oddity, but a mass of floating land origin, also known as the spiritual mechanism of the primordial continent. Song Kai reached out with his thoughts, however, what he saw made him slightly surprised. This mass of floating land origin was not insubstantial, the key being that it contained neither 0 rank nor 1st rank, the 2 low-rank floating land origins. 2nd rank floating land origin, 400 threads. 3rd rank floating land origin, 50 threads. This amount was basically equivalent to an average purple relic, but after thinking it over, Song Kai did not agree. From his initial reaction upon seeing the 10,000-year ghost locust wood, Song Kai suspected that its value on the primordial continent was probably not as simple as that of an ordinary purple relic. Not enough. On the projection screen, Song Kai replied with 2 words using his thoughts. After replying, he carefully watched Zhou Ping's subsequent reaction and thought to himself as expected. Upon seeing those 2 words, Zhou Ping showed no sign of strangeness in his eyes, as if it was the expected answer. With this, Song Kai became even more sure of his thoughts. Not long after, Zhou Ping lightly patted his storage bag again and took out another mass of floating land origin, all of which was 2nd rank, and not too much, only 200 threads. Song Kai thought it over for a while, and in the end did not agree. 2 minutes later, Zhou Ping walked out of the oddity exchange shop, his face alight with joy, clearly having successfully exchanged for the 10,000-year ghost locust wood. However, the slight pained expressions flickering in the depths of his eyes indicated that to make the exchange, he had indeed paid a significant price. Inside the shop, Song Kai wore a smile on his face as he looked down at the large mass of floating land origin in his hands. The trade had indeed been completed, and the amount of floating land origin Zhou Ping had put forth was quite substantial. In the glow that Song Kai held now, there were as many as 800 threads of second-rank floating land origin, and 100 threads of third-rank floating land origin. With a shift in his gaze, Song Kai divided the floating land origin into two, each portion being 400 threads of second-rank floating land origin plus 50 threads of third-rank floating land origin. One portion was for his uncle, and that 10,000-year ghost locust wood was exactly what his uncle had gotten. As for the other portion, of course, he kept it for himself. With a soft cough, Song Kai muttered in his heart, "Uncle, I'm sorry, I swear, this will absolutely not happen again." In fact, 400 threads of second-rank floating land origin plus 50 threads of third-rank floating land origin were indeed enough to match an ordinary purple relic, not to mention relics that could only be sold at half price within the Torch human civilization territory. Song Kai felt guilty because he had intercepted far too much, a whole half, which would absolutely be seen as ruthless and greedy if it were someone else. But he had no choice, as it was a critical time when he was most in need of second-rank, third-rank floating land origin. He couldn't afford to think about anything else for the time being. Time passed quickly, and in the 20th hour since the Ruins Market trading commenced, the number of alien species creatures in the Ruins Market secret realm had reached its peak. However, it was still less than 1,000, a lot fewer than the previous event. Obviously, the 42 spatial gates that were deployed didn't land in very favorable locations. Most of them hadn't been placed above the starry sea floating land or areas where alien creatures were active, which resulted in fewer creatures entering the Ruins Market. As a result, Song Chi's revenue had significantly decreased. After the Ruins Market trading ended, the total income converted to zero-rank floating land origin was just over 100,000 strands, less than 2,000 strands of first-rank floating land origin, and if excluding what Zhou Ping had offered, the second-rank floating land origin was less than 100 strands, not to mention scavenging any starry sea oddity. Once all the alien species had left, and Zhou Ping had been transported back to the primordial continent via the Ruins Market guest token, Song Kai immediately summoned the Kang Chong. What was the purpose of opening this Ruins Market? Wasn't it to earn second-rank and third-rank floating land origins to enhance the dark matter energy shield generator and the pure yang sword beam cannon? Now that he had the floating land origin, it was naturally time to begin the enhancements. Rather than directly enhancing the two orange glory quality components, he first installed the two special components he had acquired, spending hundreds of strands of zero-rank and first-rank floating land origin to bring both up to LV20. After enhancing to LV20, the blue quality blood soul stigma didn't change much. The number of marks only increased from 3 to 10, and the detection range was heightened from 0.5 light-year to 5 light-years. The change in the Phantom Thruster was quite significant. Phantom Thruster LV20 quality, purple feature, Phantom Trace. Consumption: 50 per second, spectral energy points. Effect: increase thrust by 100%, warship cruising speed increased by 100%. Up rank requirement: 12 strands of floating land origin, second rank, 8,000 spectral energy points. Phantom Stone 500 kilograms, 1 titanium crystal. Phantom Trace: consumes 2,000 spectral energy points, charges for 15s, the thruster enters into overdrive. The warship will make a high-speed dash in the specified direction with 1,000% increased speed for 5s. During the dash, 6 illusions that closely follow and mimic the warship will be generated around it to confuse enemy units. After enhancing to LV20, Song Kai felt no need to enhance further, as at that moment he only had a little over 500 strands of second-rank floating land origin left, which needed to be used where most crucial. First, he approached the dark matter energy shield generator, and after a burst of radiance, this orange energy shield was enhanced to LV30. After reaching LV30, he didn't rush to continue enhancing but went over to the Pure Yang Sword Beam Cannon, and also enhanced it to LV30. However, these two enhancements cost Song Kai 300 strands of second-rank floating land origin plus 60 titanium crystals, using up most of his second-rank floating land origin. Together with the 50 crystals from the last ruins market trading, he had just reached 100 titanium crystals, and now only 40 remained. Song Kai sighed, pressing down the pain in his heart. His thoughts began to race again. At the moment, he was pondering only one question: which component to enhance next? With only 40 titanium crystals left, it meant that whether he chose to enhance the dark matter energy shield generator, or the Pure Yang Sword Beam Cannon, he could only enhance one level further, as both parts required 32 titanium crystals to upgrade from LV30 to LV31. This was the cause for his dilemma. After much deliberation, Song Kai decided not to enhance either of the two, instead opting for the Shadow Capture Antimatter Overstate engine, bringing it to LV30 as well. The reason was simple enough. On reaching LV30, unlike the incremental improvement within the same rank from LV30 to LV31, the Shadow Capture Antimatter Overstate engine experienced a rank jump, with significant boosts to its energy supply and drive capability. It would provide Kang Chong with higher cruising speed and flexibility, offering the highest value for the cost at that moment. With these enhancements, the attributes of Kang Chong saw a significant and comprehensive boost. The three components enhanced to the third rank were frighteningly powerful. Shadow Capture Antimatter Overstate Engine LV30 Quality, Purple. Feature: an additional 80% increase in energy supply efficiency. Consumption: 180 per second energy supply. 1512 per second post-overload buffer, 20 minutes. Energy pool: 60,000 points, able to store 60,000 points of energy. Convertible Shadow Capture Reactor, up rank requirement: 15 strands of floating land origin, third rank, 30,000 spectral energy points, 10 life cores. Third rank, 16 titanium crystals. Dark Matter Energy Shield Generator LV30 Quality, Orange. Feature: shield value additionally increased by 115%. Feature 2: shield defense value doubled. Consumption: 350 per second, spectral energy points. Defense: 159,600 shield value. 4,120,000. 4,120,000. Charge: 20s. Post-overload buffer: 30 minutes. Up rank requirement: 20 strands of third rank floating land origin, 40,000 spectral energy points, 350 tons of mercury crystal, 32 titanium crystals. Pure Yang Sword Beam Cannon LV30 Quality, Orange. Feature: mixed hollow extreme Yang Sword Intent Divine Light. Feature 2: main cannon might increased by 115%. Consumption: 3,000 per use, spectral energy points. Attack: 490,200. Charge: 4s. Buffer 5s. Up rank requirement: 20 strands of third rank floating land origin, 35,000 spectral energy points, 350 tons of sunflame ore, 32 titanium crystals. Satisfied, Song Kai closed down the attributes of the three components and once again tallied up the remaining funds he had on hand. Only 110 strands of second-rank floating land origin remained, 150 strands of third-rank floating land origin, 20 strands of fourth-rank floating land origin, and, in addition, 25 titanium crystals. Considering this, Song Kai turned his gaze to the Heavenly Eye Skyscan radar. With only 110 strands of the second-rank floating land origin left, there was barely enough for one more enhancement, and the importance of the radar to a warship needs no further explanation. Do you want to spend 50 strands of second-rank floating land origin plus 20,000 spectral energy points to upgrade the Heavenly Eye Skyscan radar from LV-29 to LV-30? Confirm. Following his confirmation, the Heavenly Eye Skyscan radar was successfully enhanced to LV-30. Looking at its attributes after reaching LV-30, its detection range increased from 240 light-hours to 480 light-hours, and its precision went from 260 to 300. Last was its feature, Star Chart Collector, which had a collection range 100 times that of the detection range, meaning the diameter it could generate star charts for reached 12 light-years, a significant improvement from the previous 3 light-years. With this, the latest round of enhancements for the Kongchong was essentially complete. After enhancing the Kongchong, he went ahead and pulled the Zutian Ruins Market from LV-15 to LV-16 and also enhanced the Spectral Energy Protective Array, the All Attributes Cultivation Room, and the Ultra-Long Distance Space Gate Random Deployment Platform to LV-16, further advancing their features. P.S. There are too many data points, so they are not all listed here to avoid suspicion of padding the word count. After all that was done, Song Kai exited the Ruins Market. He then made a trip to Zhongyuan City to hand over the 400 strands of second rank and 50 strands of third rank floating land origin to his uncle. Dongjiang Community, home. Having just completed over 10 hours of deep sleep, Song Kai was now refreshed and back in prime condition. After having lunch and bidding goodbye to his parents, he left home. Once outside the community, he quickly summoned the Kongchong and headed straight for the Vault of Heaven. With the Ruins Market transactions complete and the Kongchong strengthened to its short-term limit, and having waited for over 2 months already, Song Kai could no longer hold back and shot straight for the starry sea space region beyond the White Tower floating land. Upon reaching a suitable star domain, he immediately commenced a new exploration of the alien star domain. Hum hum hum. Amid the faint vibrational noise, the Kongchong officially completed the charging process for the alien star domain deployment. The very next second Song Kai was enveloped in a strong sense of weightlessness. At the same time, he was inwardly exclaiming, "Buluo civilization ruins, I hope you won't disappoint me." In the midst of an unfamiliar star domain, one could vaguely make out a sizable asteroid belt at the edge of their vision. However, Song Kai had no intention of steering the Kangchong over to it, instead rapidly recalling the warship, while he himself also vanished into the pitch-black starry sky. In the Ruins Market secret realm, he meticulously arranged the equipment he wore on his body. Chengxing military exoskeleton-powered armor, disposable single-soldier combat shields. Once he confirmed that everything was ready, he activated the only spatial anchor point coordinates of the Ruins Market. High above the yellow sand floating continent, appearing suddenly from the void, Song Kai began to plummet at high speed. When he got his bearings, he immediately harnessed spectral energy to open the ancestral torch. In the next second, the Kangchong materialized directly below, precisely catching the falling Song Kai. After entering the Kangchong, Song Kai didn't descend toward the floating land below but first flew over the top of a 10,000-meter tall rock from the starry sky, then began to streak straight down, which saved a considerable amount of time. The Kangchong passed through the clouds above the floating land, and the scene below came fully into view, but Song Chi's brow suddenly furrowed. Is that a sandstorm? From a bird's eye view, near the towering rock below, there was a strikingly large eye of the storm, wreaking havoc. The strength of the energy at the center of the sandstorm forming this eye of the storm was terrifying, spanning over 10,000 meters in diameter, with the half-automated intelligence aboard the Kangchong showing that the energy intensity at the storm's center reached 5th rank. Even the weaker energy reactions of the surrounding storm's gravitational field reached a strength of 4th rank. Clearly, it was a giant sandstorm of the sort one might see once in 100 years. Just my luck to run into this thing. Feeling helpless inside, Song Kai lamented his poorly timed arrival. Yet, he did not give up. Terrifying as the storm was, the mass of the 10,000-meter rock was real. He tried to control the Kang Chong to approach the rock slowly from exactly behind it, the side opposite the eye of the storm. After cautiously trying for about half an hour, Song Kai finally gave up. Though the rock did diminish some of the might of the 10,000-meter storm, its gravitational field was alarmingly extensive. Despite being only 10,000 meters in diameter, the influence of its gravitational field stretched beyond 100,000 meters, making it very difficult for the Kang Chong to stabilize its hull. Even the slightest carelessness could spell complete disaster. For the sake of safety, he ultimately abandoned the idea of taking a gamble. Upon raising the flight altitude of the Kang Chong again, Song Kai contemplated his next course of action. The 10,000-meter scale sandstorm clearly wouldn't subside or change location anytime soon. It might even rage on for 10 days or half a month, which meant he wouldn't be able to enter the Buluo civilization ruins this time. Therefore, he naturally had to consider his next plan of action. With more than 20 hours until his return, he obviously couldn't just wait around doing nothing. Minutes passed, and Song Kai came around. Now he faced two choices. First, to control the Kang Chong and leave the yellow sand floating land to explore other areas of this unknown starry space. Second, to stay above the yellow sand floating continent. He remembered that this floating land harbored a creature somewhat akin to the earthworms from his previous life but magnified. He went out of his way to research these creatures after his return and concluded they seemed to be a type of insect from the insect race. And since they were also from the insect race, it was certain that the probability of energy crystals condensing within their bodies far exceeded that of other stellar sea creatures. Hence, remaining in this area to hunt these creatures was a decent choice as well. It had only been half a year since the Kang Chong advanced to first rank, but with Song Chi's earning capacity, he could enhance the Torch warship's hull to LV-19 and undertake the second rank, escort ship, upgrade mission whenever he wished. Therefore, gathering specific resources needed for the Torch warship to advance from first rank to second rank, along with special materials that could further increase the warship's upgrade success rate, was equally vital for him to focus on. However, energy crystals were ultimately a hit-or-miss affair. Even if he hunted many of those sand-dwelling insect race creatures later on, it was highly probable there would be no gains, and this was the reason for Song Chi's current dilemma. But before he could ponder any further, a prompt sound helped him resolve this issue. Some time had passed since he teleported here using the spatial anchor point, and after an hour of gathering, the star chart collector successfully produced a 10 light-year diameter nearby star domain map. And it was this star chart that made the indecisive Song Kai come to a decision. There were no other floating lands or asteroid belts, or even fragment belts, noted on this map. This meant that there were no other resource points within at least a 5 light-year radius, so he could dismiss the first option, leaving only the second. Within the Kang Chong, Song Chi's figure suddenly disappeared, and inside the enclosed storage space of the ruins market secret realm, he rummaged through with the power of laws and finally retrieved a glass bottle from a corner. The label on the glass bottle read, "Flesh Life Universal Pheromones, a widely used and circulated biological attractant within Torch human civilization." This substance had a single purpose: to attract those non-sentient or low-intelligence species of alien creatures, enabling a faster capture or kill. Furthermore, with just 10 strands of zero-rank floating land origin per bottle, Song Kai had prepared dozens of bottles in this storage space for emergency use. In an area where yellow sand floating land storms were relatively less frequent, the door of the Kang Chong hovering 100 meters in the air was slowly opened, and a fire peony soldier figurine wearing military exoskeleton-powered armor leapt down from it. Bang! The rapidly descending fire peony soldier figurine crashed into the yellow sand below, creating a huge pit, but in front of its second-rank puppet body, coupled with the exoskeleton armor absorbing part of the impact, such a collision could hardly cause any significant effect. At the same time, the brainwave beacon attached to the soldier figurine quickly issued a command to release pheromones. After opening the glass bottle, the fire peony soldier figurine swiftly threw it onto the sandy soil beneath its feet, Then with the aid of its exoskeleton armor, it took more than 10 steps in a sprint, before slightly bending its body downward, and in the next second, with the assistance of its own legs and the exoskeleton armor, it leapt up and landed precisely back onto the Kang Chong, hovering nearly 100 meters above. Having retrieved the Fire Peony soldier figurine, Song Kai quickly controlled the Kang Chong to ascend again, only stopping once it reached a height of 1 kilometer. The last time he encountered a sandworm that resembled a huge earthworm, it was over 100 meters in length. Naturally, he would not put himself in danger. In the Kang Chong main control room, the projection screen enlarged dozens of times showed the glass bottle with pheromones quickly being sucked into the sandy bottom by the quicksand, but the pheromones inside had already spread out in all directions. Seeing this, Song Kai waited patiently, like a hunter standing guard for prey, quietly awaiting the arrival of his quarry. A few minutes later, his normally calm eyes narrowed slightly, and his gaze shifted to a location dozens of kilometers away from where the pheromones had been deployed, where under the surface of the sand, there had just been a slight disturbance. Just as Song Kai thought that sandworms would soon converge on the area, another 10 minutes passed without any sign of movement from below. If one bottle isn't enough, then I'll add a little more. No sooner had he spoken than he vanished in front of the control console, and within seconds, Song Kai reappeared holding 5 more of the same glass bottles. The Fire Peony soldier figurine swiftly repeated its previous actions, throwing 5 bottles of pheromones into the same spot below. This series of actions did indeed have a significant effect. Perhaps the continuous 6 bottles of pheromones caused a qualitative change in concentration. In any case, not long after, noises started emanating from the surroundings. Moreover, it was not a single noise, for from all directions beneath the yellow sand, different sizes of vibrations began emerging, followed by swift sand dragons streaking through. His eyes moving, Song Kai quickly calculated and analyzed the number of these sand dragons and the specific ranks of the sandworms hidden beneath them. There were a total of 8 sand dragons that had appeared, 4 of which had a diameter of 10 meters like last time. 3 more were about 7 meters, and the last one was particularly astonishing, with a diameter of 15 meters, and its speed as it tore toward the center of the pheromone diffusion was the most formidable. Second rank peak? Or possibly third rank level sandworm? Muttering to himself, he did not slow his movements. The ship's body tilted slightly downward, and the muzzles of both the Pure-Yang sword-beam cannon and the electromagnetic ray cannon aimed at the ground below, where the Pure-Yang sword-beam cannon was already gathering streams of light, and a phantom sword shadow was rapidly coalescing. Seconds later, the 8 sand dragons had converged in the sand below, and on the enlarged projection screen, fine sand began to spew upwards from the ground. Amidst the swirling yellow sand, the image on the projection screen quickly became enveloped by the thickening dust storm, making it impossible to clearly see what was happening below. Seeing this, Song Kai pressed the fire button for the Pure-Yang sword-beam cannon without hesitation, while the electromagnetic ray cannon began furiously firing down below. Boom, boom, boom. In the midst of a violent roaring, countless barrages poured into the soil and sand below, making the flying yellow sand around grow even more fierce. Although Song Kai had no knowledge of the specific situation below, he had never ceased firing the electromagnetic ray cannon. He could hear from the howls coming from below that the sandworms were thrashing violently, a sign of their ultimate frenzy after being severely wounded. Soon, the air filled with thick, pungent odors mingled within the sand dust, emanating from the blood of those sandworms. Under the influence of a large amount of pheromones, which already possessed a strong attraction to these kinds of sandworms, now coupled with the intense stench, the sandworms beneath the yellow sand grew even crazier. Every moment, from all directions, more and more sandworms rapidly converged. In response to this, Song Chi's eyelids twitched continuously as the sheer number of converging sandworms was too great, with dozens arriving every minute from great distances. Even the dust clouds could not hide everything. Occasionally, one could see the dark silhouettes, easily 100 meters in size, beneath the thinning dust. They opened their jaws wide, frantically biting and gnawing at their own kind next to them. What was once a gray-yellow sandy surface was now stained with dark green patches from the stench-ridden blood sprayed from the inside of the sandworms. Bits of flesh were scattered everywhere, creating a horrifying sight. Despite his twitching eyelids, Song Chi's hands never stopped moving. Once the Pure Yang sword beam cannon finished buffering, he immediately began to recharge it again. On his side, the electromagnetic ray cannon had been firing non-stop from the beginning. Under this relentless barrage, the floating land origin reserve on the Kangchong continued to rise. Although sporadic traces of zero-rank floating land origin would appear, the vast majority was still first rank. In a short period, the Kangchong had accumulated several hundred strands of first-rank floating land origin. That is to say, the vast majority of sandworms below were of second-rank level, and after several hours of fire coverage, hundreds of second-rank sandworms had perished under the Kangchong's gunfire. Hundreds of second-rank worms, such a staggering number, it's no wonder Song Chi's reaction was so intense. However, amidst his astonishment, he also felt some excitement. Even though he wasn't lacking first-rank floating land origin, the profit he gained was still tangible, and validating the astonishing firepower of the Kangchong brought natural excitement. Of course, of the current battle spoils, the Pure Yang sword beam cannon only accounted for a small part of the credit. Although its power was tremendous, it was after all a single target attack, and each attack required a considerable amount of time for charging and buffering, which greatly limited its attack frequency. On the contrary, the blue-quality electromagnetic ray cannon truly shone this time. Its lightning arc splash feature was simply a masterpiece for area attacks. Each shot could splash onto several surrounding sandworms. Even if the power wasn't very strong, the accumulation from shot after shot resulted in a large number of second-rank sandworms falling. Just when things were getting intense, at one moment, Song Kai felt a sudden jolt in his heart, an inexplicable sense of horror surged within him, and a chill ran down his back. Glancing around the projection screen with the corner of his eye, he quickly noticed something, and his eyes trembled fiercely. Subconsciously, he continued to instruct the Kangchong to ascend, but before it could ascend much, a pitch-black energy sphere shot through the dense dust below, heading straight for the Kangchong in the sky. The black energy sphere, over 10 meters in diameter, rippled violently upon Kangchong's energy shield. The force of the impact was so strong that it sent the airship's body flying nearly 10 meters upwards, though this wasn't too noticeable because the Kangchong was already ascending. Song Kai instinctively glanced at the dark matter energy shield's shield value, and then his pupils constricted simultaneously. Shield value: 3,215,804,120,000. The formerly full shield value had dropped by a fifth. Keep in mind that this was an orange energy shield, enhanced to third rank level, with a defense value of 200,000. Considering this, the attack strength of this pitch-black energy sphere was well over 1,000,000. Looking down again, the vast yellow sand could not conceal the enormous shadow below, with a diameter of 100 meters and a length exceeding a kilometer. Looking at the terrifyingly huge shadow, Song Kai was absolutely sure that this must be a third-rank level sandworm, and not just any ordinary one, but the kind at the third-ranked peak, possibly even a pseudo-fourth-rank level creature. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been possible to inflict such damage on a dark matter energy shield generator that had been enhanced to LV-30. To put it simply, a normal creature from the starry sea of the third rank, when faced with an orange-quality dark matter energy shield generator, would do well to deal more than 50,000 points of damage. Those that aren't adept at attacking wouldn't even be able to break through the dark matter energy shield, their attack damage being lower than the defense value of the energy shield. From this, it's evident how terrifying it was for a single strike to deplete over 800,000 shield points. As time passed and the dust and smoke around him gradually cleared, Song Kai finally got a clear view of the massive shadow beneath him. It was almost exactly as he had surmised. Indeed, it was a sandworm. However, compared to those of the first and second rank, its size was much more colossal. With a diameter nearing 100 meters, and a length surpassing a kilometer, Anyone with a phobia of large objects would be terrified beyond compare at this daunting size. However, for Song Kai, the impact was far less intense and could barely be considered out of the ordinary. Just about 10 days ago, he had personally witnessed a 4th rank level Moruo space escape mech that was over 2,000 meters in size, as well as the projection of his family's ancestors' mythical mech that exceeded 10,000 meters. In comparison to these two, the 3rd rank sandworm before him didn't seem as impressive. Of course, even if he somewhat overlooked its size, Song Qi's vigilance did not diminish in the slightest. He had a clear understanding of the combat power of a 3rd rank creature. Although both the energy shield and the shipborne main cannon of the Kang Chong were enhanced to the 3rd rank, they were still quite a bit short of a true 3rd rank being's capabilities. His mind whirred at high speed. While continuing to increase the Kang Chong's altitude, Song Kai also wrestled with the decision of whether to fight or retreat. The reason for his dilemma was that although the Kang Chong still had a significant gap with a 3rd rank being, it was a relative gap, not absolute. If it were to engage in close combat with a 3rd rank creature, with the energy shield ineffective, the Kang Chonga, merely equipped with blue-quality warship armor and currently at an enhancement level of only LV-29, would undoubtedly be crushed. However, from another perspective, if they maintained enough distance, the Kang Chong with its 3rd rank orange energy shield and orange main cannon, actually had the capability to fight head-to-head with a 3rd rank being. With its ability to withstand an attack, how could it not be qualified to match up against a 3rd rank stellar sea creature? That's why he seemed hesitant. Of course, this hesitation was only for Song Kai, whose mind was operating at high speed. In the outside world, it was merely the span of 2 seconds. Just as the Kang Chong had ascended to 3,000 meters, the 3rd rank sandworm below refused to let up. Its wide maw, tens of meters across, with countless fangs over dozens of centimeters long at the center, was rapidly condensing a second 10-meter wide pitch-black energy sphere. Whoosh! The pitch-black energy sphere once again shot upward, aiming directly for the hull of the Kang Chong. This provoked the smoldering fire in the depths of Song Qi's heart. He no longer hesitated, dismissed the thought of leaving, and decided to have a head-on confrontation with the 3rd-ranked peak sandworm. The Kang Chong's combat power had just undergone a significant increase, and he was also curious to see just how effective the 3rd rank orange main cannon combined with the 3rd rank orange energy shield could be in combat. The instant he made his decision, the engines of the Kang Chong began to operate beyond their limits, while the newly installed streaming light propulsors at the rear of the warship were responsible for converting the energy expelled by the engines into effective thrust for the Kang Chong at the highest degree possible. With both purple components powering up simultaneously, the Kang Chong managed to execute a warship sidestep in just 0.5 seconds. Humming. It was due to this evasive maneuver that the energy sphere, 10 meters in diameter, did not hit the Kang Chong head-on but rather grazed by, brushing past the energy shield and causing some energy consumption. However, compared to the previous attack, the damage was much lesser. Before Song Kai could feel relieved, his second stream of consciousness captured another piercing whistle from below. A third one. Can this thing really fire without limit? His expression darkened as he once again pushed the shadow capture antimatter overstate engine and phantom thruster to their limits. While the warship still managed a slight deflection, Song Qi's face visibly paled, and beads of sweat began to emerge on his forehead, clearly indicating the mental strain exerted by these minute maneuvers. Thus, the third energy sphere still grazed past the dark matter energy shield. Although this time the inflicted damage was higher, the Kang Chong's energy shield still retained over 70% of its shield points, maintaining its absolute combat power. During the evasion, Song Qi's third stream of consciousness activated the Pure Yang sword beam cannon. The ability to attack from a distance wasn't only restricted to the opponent. Enough is enough, it's my turn now. Inside the Kang Chong, Song Kai spoke with a cold tone, and the next second the fully charged Pure Yang sword beam cannon erupted fiercely. The 10-meter-long sword light phantasm buzzed briefly before transforming into a streak of light that shot towards the giant shadow below. Sizzling. The 10-meter diameter sword light phantasm shot downwards at an astonishing speed, allowing the sandworm below no time to react. Almost as if it had exited the cannon 1 second before, the next it had already landed upon its pitch-black body. What surprised Song Kai was that when the sword light phantasm struck the third-rank sandworm, it emitted a clear, resonant metallic friction sound, accompanied by countless sparks spraying out. Clearly, the layer of pitch-black skin on the surface of the third-rank sandworm was already as hard as a special alloy. Although he hadn't activated the mixed hollow extreme yang sword intent divine light, with this strike, it was still an all-out attack from the third-rank orange main cannon. Even with just a first-rank warship body's 20% damage enhancement, the might definitely qualified as third-rank level. Yet, it surprisingly couldn't inflict significant damage on the opponent, something he found hard to accept. Chi-Chi. Suddenly, the third-rank sandworm below opened its ferocious mouth again, and Song Kai, who caught it first, subconsciously prepared to control the Kang Chong to evade, but what was unexpected was that this time, it didn't shoot out that dark energy ball, but roared upwards. Not good, a sonic attack. Song Chi's reaction was swift enough. He guessed it was a sonic attack when he saw no energy ball forming in its mouth but a roar instead, but it was still too late. Hum hum hum. No time was left for other reactions when the sharp screaming sound had already penetrated through the hull into his ears. In an instant, his entire mind was filled with the buzzing noise. Seen from the outside, his eyes were lifeless, filled with a blank stare. In fact, because he had a heads up, he had 0.1 seconds to react. Song Kai immediately thought of a countermeasure, which was to enter the ruins market secret realm himself, easily avoiding the sonic influences, but this thought only flashed through his mind for a moment before being rapidly dismissed. Entering the ruins market would indeed avoid the sonic influence, but the Kang Chong left in the sky would not escape the attack of the dark energy balls. Considering the power of the first energy ball, should the Kang Chong be hit, its hull would surely be pushed over 10 meters by the blast wave. Then, when Song Kai exited the market, he wouldn't be on the Kang Chong but instead in midair without any support. If the situation turned out like that, he would really be doomed. Remaining on the Kang Chong, even if unable to evade due to the sonic interference, there was still the protection of the dark matter energy shield. But once his real body was exposed, the terrifying energy carried by the dark energy ball could evaporate him instantly. Boom! As expected, after the interference, the dark energy ball followed up closely, striking the energy shield on the outer layer of the Kang Chong. This attack once again consumed 20% of the dark matter energy shield's shield value, leaving just over 50% remaining. It hadn't ended there, as a second energy ball followed up closely, and after this one, the dark matter energy shield's shield value was only left at 30%. Below, on the now dark green sand, the kilometer-long sandworm opened its massive mouth again, the third energy ball rapidly condensing. However, at this moment, something different happened on the Kang Chong. Song Kai, who should have been affected for a while, suddenly recovered thanks to the abnormal status purifier beside him. It was the purification aura emitted by this component that purged the lingering sonic waves that had captivated his spirit, and together with the boost from the blue torch, it allowed him to regain consciousness ahead of time. As for why it took him so long to recover, after all, the sonic wave came from a third-rank peak creature, and Song Kai himself was only at first rank. The abnormal status purifier's enhancement level was also only at LV20, releasing a purification aura at the second rank level, which was why it couldn't instantly cleanse the sound waves emitted by the sandworm. But this was enough. At least the dark matter energy shield generator hadn't collapsed yet, at least the hull of the Kang Chong was still intact. Suppressing the sting in his mind, Song Kai reactivated the pure Yang sword beam cannon, and the mixed hollow extreme Yang sword intent divine light feature was also activated alongside it. Given his personality, after turning back, he should have immediately redirected the Kang Chong to make a getaway. The reason he did not choose to do so was that he couldn't bear to flee in such an embarrassing way when the warship's most powerful attack had yet to be launched. How could he possibly flee so disgracefully? Of course, after that strike, no matter what the effect of the mixed hollow extreme yang sword intent divine light was, Song Kai would choose to turn and flee into the distance. At this moment, the remaining shield value of the dark matter energy shield had fallen below the safety threshold he had set for himself. Continue to stay and fight? No, that was not his style of combat. Once the final charge was complete, the 100-meter sword intent divine light roared out from the front of the Kang Chong, carrying an unstoppable might, and charged straight at the third-rank sandworm below. After the strike, Song Kai didn't even care to check the specific effect of the cannon. He hastily maneuvered the Kang Chong to escape at high speed into the sky. Of course, it's worth mentioning that before fleeing, he didn't forget to use the newly installed Blood Soul Stigma on the warship to mark the third-rank sandworm below with a Blood Soul mark. If the mixed hollow extreme yang sword intent divine light didn't kill it, Song Kai was not the forgiving type. He would surely return for revenge, and the Blood Soul mark was to ensure that he could accurately locate it later. Moreover, he had an even deeper plan, that was, after the Kang Chong commenced its promotion mission, to return to the yellow sand floating continent. A third-rank peak sandworm should significantly increase the chances of a successful promotion, and the numerous second-rank sandworms should not be overlooked either, as they could serve as fuel for the Kang Chong's subsequent promotion. The Kang Chong sped away, quickly disappearing into the clouds above the yellow sand floating continent. What Song Kai did not know was that under the attack of the mixed hollow extreme yang sword intent divine light, the third-rank sandworm had also been severely wounded. Its once proud skin was like paper under the shattering sword intent, and its body was cut in half at the waist. For a moment, a large amount of dark green viscous liquid splashed around, hissing as it corroded the surrounding sand and soil. However, the vitality of the third-rank sandworm was terrifyingly strong. Even though its body was severed into two parts, it did not die. Hiss. After a series of intense hissing noises, the third-rank sandworm, with its front half of the body, burrowed rapidly into the sand below. Once it burrowed back beneath the sand, it disappeared like fish returning to the sea, vanishing in the blink of an eye. About half an hour later, the Kang Chong, which had reactivated its dark matter energy shield to full shield value after an overload, returned to the battlefield. On seeing the half of the giant sandworm's corpse, Song Chi's eyebrows furrowed slightly as he inwardly sighed at the pity. However, as much as he regretted it, he did not regret his actions. Given another chance, he would make the same choice. With less than 30% of the shield value remaining on the dark matter energy shield generator, the Kang Chong was not without the possibility of sinking if the third-rank sandworm had any other tricks up its sleeve. Additionally, even if he had truly killed the third-rank sandworm, unless it had an energy crystal inside, at best he would have obtained some insect race flesh, which was far less cost-effective than waiting for the Kang Chong to commence its promotion mission and then come back to kill it. Shaking his head, Song Kai stopped dwelling on these thoughts and carefully maneuvered the Kang Chong closer to the ground, until it was only 100 meters from the surface, followed by the opening of the cabin door as 5 fully armed second-rank Fire Peony soldier figurines rushed out quickly. However, unlike the previous deployment of pheromones, this time the 5 Fire Peony soldier figurines each held an equal model of cutter in their hands. Under the command of the Fire Peony soldier figurine marked with a brainwave beacon, the 5 figurines began manually cutting up the sandworm's body buried in the sand. Song Chi's goal was clear. Aside from the initial energy crystals, he also wanted to harvest the insect race flesh. The second-rank level insect race flesh had a good auxiliary effect on the practice of first-rank guidance technique. All 5 Fire Peony soldier figurines were cutting up the insect corpse at full speed. Song Kai above did not relax his vigilance. His gaze swept constantly over the sand below, and the shipborne main cannon and secondary cannons were also ready to fire at any moment. Though it was true that after the absolute deterrence in terms of life level from that third-rank peak sandworm, 99% of the first-rank and second-rank sandworms had been driven away, there was no guarantee. With such vigilance, Song Chi's spiritual focus naturally became highly concentrated once again, which also caused the brain, which was still faintly aching, to emit bursts of sharp pain once more, making it particularly uncomfortable. It seems that if there's a chance, I need to get a special component like a ground detection instrument, or a patrolling radar with the feature of life detection would also do. The deficiency of the Sky Eye patrolling radar in effectively detecting what lies beneath the ground or inside, or behind large obstructions, made him feel the need to obtain a dedicated ground detection component in the future. Besides this, it also made him even more attentive to further enhancing his spiritual force. Whether it was the strenuous feeling of performing high-difficulty micromanipulations on the Kang Chong or subsequently being deterred by the third-rank sandworm's sonic vibrations, the root cause was that his spiritual force was too weak at present. Of course, this too weak was only relative to second-rank and third-rank creatures. At this early stage of entering the first rank, his spiritual force had already surpassed over 90% of the Starry Sea's same-rank lifeforms. The continuous refinement and enhancement of the spiritual by the mythical mech projection imprint blueprint, along with the boost from the blue seed of torch, had made his spiritual force far surpass his peers, but Song Kai was still not quite satisfied. As a transmigrator, he aimed to benchmark not only against his peers. In the future, I need to increase the time I spend visualizing the mythical mech projection imprint blueprint every day. Song Chi's eyes shone with resolve, as he silently made up his mind. Previously, he visualized the mythical mech projection imprint blueprint for 2 hours each day, which was already strictly related to the strength of his spiritual force. He could only visualize for about 2 hours a day, after which his spiritual was too exhausted to continue, but that was before his guidance technique reached the first rank. After breaking through level 10 of the guidance technique, his spiritual force received a significant boost due to the first sublimation of his life level, and now that the seed of torch had advanced from white to blue, his spiritual had become more solid. Song Kai estimated that he could now visualize the mythical mech projection imprint blueprint for 3 to 4 hours a day. Let's make it 3 hours then. After pondering for a moment, he set the visualization time to 3 hours. Even though with his current spiritual force he could likely visualize for longer, the cultivation of the guidance technique should not be neglected, as ultimately, it's still about the subsequent sublimation of one's own life. As he thought, several hours quickly passed without any of the unforeseen events he had imagined. The ferocity of that third-rank peak sandworm was a bit more extreme than he had thought. Even though it had left for over 4 hours, no other first or second-rank sandworms dared to approach this area. However, this also made it much easier for Song Kai to deal with those insect corpses. Otherwise, who knows how long it would have been dragged on. There were over 500 sandworm corpses in the sand below, and although the vast majority were already nibbled and badly mangled, there were still over 200 corpses that needed to be cut open and inspected. It took the 5 Fire Peony soldier figurines more than 4 hours to barely complete the task, and this was under conditions with no interference. Otherwise, the time required would have at least doubled. The final result was not beyond Song Chi's expectation. There were no energy crystals, but a decent point was that the combined second-rank insect race's choice cuts of meat amounted to 1,000 kilograms. On average, each second-rank sandworm produced about 5 kilograms of choice cuts, which was quite powerful. These were second-rank insect race choice cuts of meat, and even though they didn't compare to the queen insect's meat that contained a trace of third-rank energy essence from earlier, the difference wasn't huge. Combined with the sufficient quantity and used together with the advanced body tempering potion and body tempering liquid, it was bound to greatly accelerate the cultivation speed of the guidance technique. It's a pity that the small piece of third-rank insect corpse didn't include any choice cuts of meat. That would have been genuine third-rank meat, which would have an effect stronger than the queen insect's meat from before. He sighed lightly and casually walked over to the blood soul stigma component. Soon, his tightly closed eyes opened, and at the same time, he turned his gaze to a sand dune thousands of kilometers away. According to the information from the blood soul stigma, that third-rank sandworm was hiding a kilometer deep beneath that sand dune. After his eyes flickered a few times, Song Kai dispelled the idea of going there and decided to wait until after the Kang Chong commenced its warship upgrade mission before dealing with the third-rank sandworm. More than 10 hours later, having stayed for 24 hours, the Kang Chong received a reminder to return to the warship and then quickly disappeared into the starry sky beyond the yellow sand floating continent. At home on the White Tower floating land, I'm back. As soon as he walked through the door, his mother's slightly joyful voice rang out immediately. She and his father were still busy dealing with some matters, so they had not gone exploring the alien star domain. Today, however, Song Kai did not rush back to his room, Ruins Market, as usual, but solemnly pulled his parents into the living room. "Son, what's the matter? Did you run into some trouble?" Seeing Song Chi's expression, Chen Lixia, who knew there must be something important, could no longer keep calm and started asking questions anxiously. Song Chao was much calmer, not in a hurry to ask questions but waiting for what Song Kai would say next. At the same time, he patted Chen Lixia and glanced under the sofa in the side of the living room. Chen Lixia immediately understood Song Chao's intention. She quickly got up and went to the side of the sofa, and after a bit of searching, a familiar blue isolation barrier began to slowly spread. Not until the isolation barrier had enveloped the entire living room did Song Kai start to channel the spectral energy within his body towards his third eye. Soon after, accompanied by a burst of blue flames, a bronze token shot out from his ancestral aperture. Just as Song Chao and Chen Lixia were intently observing the Ruins Market guest token, curious about what it actually was, Song Kai handed the token directly to them. A few minutes later, after both had taken turns holding the Ruins Market guest token and had received the information it contained, their eyes shone with light, and then Song Chao said, "Little Kai, tell us in detail about that Zutian Ruins Market behind this guest token." Upon hearing this, Song Kai, who had already prepared a perfect explanation in his mind, quickly described it. He did not reveal everything about the current situation of the Ruins Market secret realm but gave a rough overview. He described it in a way that showcased the power and mystery of the Zutian Ruins Market but did not specifically disclose that currently, only 0-rank and 1st-rank alien species could enter the market. This explanation was his most rational summary, crafted to perfectly conceal that he was not the master of the Ruins Market but merely a market guest. As expected, after hearing his explanation, Song Chao and Chen Lixia did not think too much. Instead, their tones suddenly rose as they said, "So, is this why you've been able to rapidly enhance your flagship and obtain high-quality ship components over these past few months? Being able to connect different star domains of the shattered Starry Sea, bringing together various Starry Sea races for free trade, no wonder." Song Chao's thoughts whirred quickly as he pondered the value of the Zutian Ruins Market and the Ruins Market guest token before him. However, he soon dismissed these thoughts, realizing that no amount of money could measure their worth. "Let's go. We need to talk to your grandfather. The value of this Ruins Market guest token is beyond imagination. If used correctly, it could bring endless benefits to our entire family." Song Chao was a man of decisive action, and the three of them quickly set out for White Tower City. The Rage Lion Courtyard, the central hall. Song Mingsong's eyes bulged with intensity as he stared fixedly at his third son. Given the commotion, if Song Chao did not have anything important to say or failed to provide a reasonable explanation, Song Mingsong was bound to unleash his furious temper today. In the past, Song Chao would have been restless, but today was different. He was composed, with excitement and joy barely concealed in the depths of his eyes. After the entire hall was shrouded in the isolation barrier, Song Chao looked around the hall. At this moment, besides their family of 3 and Song Mingsong and Bai Shuken, there was only one other person present, a Song Shan, whose warship had also advanced to the 3rd rank. As for Zhao Hongshui, Song Hai and his wife, Song Yang and his wife, they were not there. It wasn't that Song Chao did not trust them, but the connection to the Zutian Ruins Market and the Ruins Market guest token was too significant. The fewer people who knew, the less chance there was of exposure. Although he had not informed them, he could still utilize the market to help collect resources for them later, without falling behind on their cultivation progress and the advancement of their ships. All right, you can speak now. All this secrecy, don't tell me you've advanced to the 3rd rank overnight. From the head of the table, the elder still did not have a pleasant look on his face. However, Song Chao did not care about all that and did not even respond to his father. He immediately gestured for Song Kai to summon the ruins market guest token. Once the token had been passed around to Song Mingsong, Bai Shuken, and Song Shan in turn, their expressions turned as solemn and curious as Song Chao and his wife had been earlier. After a while, once Song Kai had explained it in the same manner to the 3 of them, they too quickly realized the terrifying value behind the ruins market guest token, much like Song Chao had. The prospect of conducting face-to-face trades every month with different domains of the Shattered Starry Sea, and even alien species from river domains separated by countless light years, where the profit margin alone could make one a fortune, was staggering. After a moment of fluctuating expressions, it was Song Mingsong who spoke up first. Little Kai, so the 1,000-year ghost locust wood, from your granduncle a couple of days ago, was it traded in this ruins market? Seeing Song Kai nod rapidly, the expressions of several people in the hall changed again and again. A purple relic was traded away just like that, which alone sufficiently illustrated the value of the Zutian ruins market. Standing behind the sofa where his father sat, Song Kai did not speak, quietly waiting for the elder's further consideration and decision. 2 minutes later, his grandmother Bear Shuken, sitting beside his grandfather, seemed to remember something. She turned her head to Song Kai and asked softly, "Little Kai, has this ruins market guest token already been bound to you, or can anyone use it?" As soon as these words were spoken, the attention of several people in the hall was immediately drawn to it. The answer to this question was extremely important. If the ruins market guest token could be used by more than just Song Kai, then it absolutely could not be exposed, otherwise it would surely attract endless prying eyes. "Yes, only I can use it," Song Kai continued to affirm in response. Upon hearing this, the others breathed a sigh of relief, but they were not completely at ease yet. This was only their side of the story. How could others believe it entirely? If the ruins market guest token were to be exposed, endless troubles would inevitably follow. Therefore, his grandmother Bear Shuken immediately began to solemnly instruct him. "Little Kai, regarding this ruins market guest token, apart from a few of us in the family, you must not reveal it to anyone else, or disaster will surely ensue." No sooner had she finished speaking than his grandfather Song Mingsong and great-uncle Song Shan also cast similarly stern gazes, signaling to him that this was no joke. As for his father and mother, they had already admonished him countless times on the way to Baida City. Song Kai was of course aware of the seriousness of the matter. Otherwise, he would not have waited until now to reveal this ruins market guest token. After nodding solemnly, he took this opportunity to voice a question that had been difficult for him to decide in his heart. "Grandfather, aren't we going to return to the main family soon? My question is whether we need to be upfront with the family about this ruins market guest token in the future?" This was a question he had been wrestling with for a long time. He could fully trust the elders from his father's lineage, but he was somewhat indecisive about the Dingai Song family, whom he had never seen with his own eyes. In theory, with the strength of the Dingai Song family, if he revealed the ruins market guest token, he would immediately get substantial support, which would accelerate the development of the Zutian ruins market and repair the secret realm with its extraordinary status. But his concern was precisely this point. The power of the Dingai Song family was too great, and he could not even imagine the unique components equipped on the warships of those 4th rank and 5th rank level ancestors, nor whether these special components might have the capacity to make use of the ruins market guest token, thus overturning his status as the ruins market master, eventually leading to a reversal of roles where the guests become the hosts. After all, no matter what, he was currently only 1st rank, and even if the ruins market secret realm's status was high and he was protected by the ruins market law, how much could he actually utilize at this point? Thus, if higher-rank torch ship captains had special means, he truly couldn't be sure whether he could stand against them. The elders of the Song family and those divine transformation masters from the Luofu sword sect were different. Although a true god-transforming master is equivalent to a level 5 life of the Starry Sea, the primordial continent, after all, is cut off from the outside, and the cultivators there are just one of the many supernatural practitioners in the shattered Starry Sea. But warships of 4th rank and 5th rank level technology are capable of integrating the majority of the Starry Sea's civilizations and supernatural energy. In terms of various extraordinary foundations and techniques, torch ship captains and torch warships are definitely powerful enough to crush any single supernatural system practitioner in the shattered Starry Sea. I remember a very classic quote from a textbook in the past. You can never imagine what kind of backup a high-rank torch ship captain might have hidden. It was this concern that made Song Kai hesitant and indecisive. Finally, after contemplating for a moment, Song Mingsong spoke. My suggestion is, for now, not to reveal it, at least not until our branch has a certain amount of say in the family. Just as everyone in the hall showed their surprise, Song Mingsong further explained his reasoning. We've been away from home for almost 50 years, and none of us knows exactly what the situation is like in the clan. So, it's better to wait. Upon hearing this explanation, Song Shan, Song Chao, and the others all felt it made sense. According to their understanding, within the Dingai Song family, only family members of 4th rank and above really counted as upper echelon, holding a certain right to speak. Before achieving that status, whether one was of 2nd or 3rd rank, they could only be considered as the family backbone, merely following and executing the decisions of the family's upper layers without any right to participate in decision-making. In other words, if they made the Ruins Market guest token public to the family, and if the family's high-level members made any decisions regarding the token, or decisions that would adversely affect Song Kai, the owner, they would not even have the right to object. Hearing this, Song Kai felt more at ease. Given that even his grandfather, who had lived in the main family for over 150 years, had such concerns, it was natural that the Ruins Market guest token should not be exposed for the time being. Seeing that everyone agreed, Song Mingsong did not dwell on the matter any longer. Shifting the topic, he brought the focus back to the Zutian Ruins Market. Well, after we go back, everyone should make a list of things they need, such as warship promotion resources, special shipborne components, minerals that are rare on this side of the duchy, and so on. Additionally, all oddities that cannot be transformed into shipborne components should also be handed over to Little Kai. After a series of arrangements, Song Mingsong turned his gaze toward Bai Shuken beside him. Shuken, you go to the 2nd eldest's and the 4th's later, ask what resources they are missing. However, don't reveal the existence of the Zutian Ruins Market, just say I've found a special channel. Okay. About 10 minutes later, just as Song Mingsong and the others finished arranging everything and Song Kai was about to speak, suddenly, a ray of light flashed between his grandfather's eyebrows, and 3 beams of light flew out from his ancestral torch. When Song Kai saw the shining orange light among the 3, his eyes instantly brightened, and the words he was about to say got stuck in his throat, his entire attention captivated by the orange object. Obviously, the item in the middle of the 3 was a Starry Sea oddity of orange glory quality. Besides that, the other 2 were also extraordinary, both emitting purple light, clearly being 2 purple relics. These 3 oddities were quickly handed to Song Kai, and the old patriarch declared aloud. Little Kai, these 3 oddities are your grandfather's collection over the years. Especially the orange glory quality, Terra Primeval Stone, which was obtained more than 30 years ago from an alien star domain expedition. Unfortunately, it can't be transformed into a shipborne component. Originally, your grandfather planned to exchange it to the family for merit points upon returning to the Dingai star domain. Now, well, you try to see if you can trade it later. Song Kai naturally nodded repeatedly, though he was unsure if he could trade off the orange quality, Terra Primeval Stone. In the short term, what was certain was that with this item in possession, the status of his oddity exchange shop would instantly rise several levels. Aside from the Terra Primeval Stone, the other two purple quality oddities were Earth Dragon's Claw and Starcore Copper Mother, both unable to be transformed into shipborne components. After he carefully stored these three oddities, his eldest uncle Song Shan also took out two items, both purple relics, and his father was no exception. However, it was clear that his father's holdings weren't as substantial as the grandfather's and the eldest uncle's, with only one purple oddity presented. His mother and grandmother did the same, each taking out some items. Among them, his mother's offerings were the most modest, with only a few blue oddities presented, which was normal, considering she had only recently advanced to second rank. A few minutes later, once Song Kai had compiled everything, he arrived at a surprising result. Just from contributions made by his grandparents, eldest uncle, and his own parents, there were already 1 orange, 7 purple, and 12 blue non-component convertible Starry Sea oddities, totaling 20 items. If the items from his eldest aunt, second eldest uncle and his wife, and fourth uncle and his wife were included, his oddity exchange shop was bound to experience the most significant restock in history. Beyond these oddities, the elders would later take stock of their more obscure assets and the list of items they needed, as well as the necessary floating land origin to purchase these items, and have them all sent over. Song Kai could already imagine the increased bustle when the next Ruins Market transaction session opened, with a guaranteed surge in turnover and further increase in profits. Perhaps it wouldn't take more than 2 sessions to raise the level of the Ruins Market to LV20 or higher. And once the Ruins Market reached LV20, second-rank alien species could be permitted entry, which would only accelerate his speed of accumulating floating land origin. While Song Kai entertained these delightful prospects, the other people in the hall were equally excited. If it were genuinely possible to exchange their lackluster oddities for other same-level oddities through the Ruins Market guest token, or for medium-high rank floating continent origin, it would indeed be akin to receiving great news. This wasn't just a matter of half price versus full price. Whether it was exchanging for other oddities of the same rank capable of being transformed into shipborne components, or for medium-high rank floating continent origin, the value was at least 4 to 5 times that of a lackluster half-price oddity. As a result, this would significantly alleviate the financial tightness everyone was experiencing and speed up the enhancement of their flagships, among other benefits.